of Father's Day was held on July 5th in 1908 in Fairmont, West Virginia. Grace Golden Clayton was mourning the loss of her father when, in December of 1907, a mining disaster in a nearby town killed 361 men, 250 of which were fathers. Suddenly, 1,000 children became fatherless. Grace Golden Clayton came to her pastor with an idea to celebrate fathers and fathering. And we come to know the true value of that in the face of loss. From the very first, Father's Day was meant to be personal. Not so with Mother's Day, its twin in the universe of American holidays, and I find this fascinating. The idea for Mother's Day originated with Julia Ward Howe, and you may know her as the author of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and some still remember her as the founder of the very first American women ministers group, and maybe a few of us know that she was Unitarian. But she was also an international peace activist. And what she wanted to do with Mother's Day was not to put moms on pedestals, but draw them out of the house and into the public square, to unite as many women as she could into a common political cause, protecting children from war. Mother's Day is political. Father's Day is personal. And the contrast here is fascinating and perhaps inspiration for a future sermon. But not today. Today we're going personal. I joined Dawn in sharing a personal story. But which one? Will it be about the pitch pipe I still have, a round, silvery UFO-looking object that lies nestled in a small red plastic box with the words Master Key emblazoned on the top? This was from my barbershop chorus days, which were my high school days. Every week, Dad would take me and my younger brother Chris to go harmonizing with generally middle-aged and older guys who seemed way too enthusiastic about a night out of the house with the gang. I sang lead. Chris was a tenor because he had the piping voice of a 7-year-old, and Dad, with his big belly, sang bass. Dad was a medical doctor workaholic whose dress always featured a pager clipped to his belt, and it always was going off at the most inconvenient times. For example, when we were watching Raiders of the Lost Ark. And it was early in the movie, when the huge round boulder was rolling fast down upon Indy, right? And he was scrambling to survive. Remember that scene? Beep, 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 beep. And Dad was up and he was gone to the lobby to call in. There was always a hospital emergency he had to fly to. I remember rolling my eyes so far up into my sockets, it hurt. But now I see how he leveraged what time he had. We sang barbershop together. He did that with us. How smart that was to find an activity we could all do together. He's not sitting on some bench somewhere looking at us. He's with us. And it wasn't the first time. Years earlier, all his sons took up Ukrainian dancing. And, because I'm Ukrainian, right? So, and while his kids were triple stepping and toe heeling and doing mereshkas and doing all the things you do Ukrainian dancing, he was trying hard to keep up. Red-faced, but he was keeping up. He was right there. And I never recognized this pattern of finding ways for us to be together and do things together until now. And I wonder, and not for the first time, why his absence gives me the space to see him more fully, beyond the developmentally appropriate self-centeredness of my youth and all the mixed feelings I have always had about him. But maybe the story I tell here should aim elsewhere. What about the Captain and Tennille 8-track tape from the 1970s? Children, that is what technology used to look like. Children. Do you remember 8-track tapes? It's so old I smelled it. When I pulled it, I just said, It's like ancient Egyptian. So Dad would pop it in the stereo. He'd pop the car stereo. Or ABBA. Or Neil Diamond. As he would drive me to the ice rink at 5 o'clock in the morning. And in my memory, the northern Alberta landscape is always white with snow and blue-black cold, and the steam from his coffee almost freezes midair. This is how Dad supported my skating, driving me to the rink at this god-awful hour in temperatures that felt like we were on the moon. He'd drop me off, then get a couple hours in at work. I'd skate a few sessions, one patch, one freestyle, and Dad would come back and take me to school. It feels like Robert Hayden's beautiful poem, which features another setting in which the cold is blue-black, but the father breaks it. He splinters it by lighting the house's stove. It's love's austere and lonely offices. And now I know the story I need to tell. Not about the pitch pipe, not about the 8-track tape, but about this. This water stone is greenish, dark veins running through it, crisscrosses, whirls, turbulence that looks just like the river he must have originally picked the stone out of, then held the weight of it in his hand, then put it in his pocket. This would have been years before he had even met my mother, probably when he was a Boy Scout on one of his expeditions into the wilds of Alberta, Canada. Actually, I'm making that part up. I have no idea when he actually found the stone or what the circumstances were, but what I do know is this, that from my earliest memories, the stone was always there on his desk in his clinic office, side by side with an ashtray, which was usually filled with stubbed-out cigarettes, because back in the day, people thought smoking was good for you. My elementary school was just a few blocks away, and when school was out, I'd usually head over to see him and do my homework in the doctor's lounge, and I'd fix a cup of coffee that was half coffee, half sugar and milk, and boy, did I like the sensation of that vibrating throughout my 6-year-old body as I did my arithmetic and read my stories, and my teacher's probably wondering why everything is just so angular in my writing. And when I wander into his office, which I had to do carefully since it was past the examination rooms and I didn't want to run into any patients, well, fascination engulfed me. My dad, his things, the smells, and always the beautiful green, smooth water stone there on his desk. I couldn't take it, but I could find my own. And so when school was out and the weather was nice, I'd take my purple banana bike out, ride it into the hills near my house. I'd prop my bike on some kind of boulder or something. I never had to worry about it being stolen because this was northern Alberta, and there actually weren't very many people there anyhow. I mean, the town was about 5,000 people. I'd leave my bike without a thought. I'd hike into the hills until things leveled out and train tracks filled my sight, extended into the far distance. I'd walk the tracks. And every once in a while, I'd find agates. I loved their creamy colors, the swirl patterns that made me think of the Milky Way. I'd find an agate, take out of my pocket a tin that what had once held secrets, drop my new agate in, and it would find a home with a satisfying clack. Years later, I would find myself in the mountains near Colorado Springs, looking not for agates, but for crystals of Amazonite. I'd find them blossoming out of dull chunks of granite like turquoise flowers. Lovely. And this was just for 1 year, 1979 through 1980, when I trained with all the Olympic skaters. I spent that year going to my 9th grade school half day, and then for the other half of the day, I'd be on the ice. But now fast forward, and now it's 1999, and I'm on the shore of Lake Michigan at a retreat center north of Chicago. The day is gray. The water rushing onto the shore and then pulling back sounds strangely like leaves rustling loudly in the wind. I am here because this is the annual retreat for my seminary, Meadville Lombard Theological School. And for the first time, I am meeting professors whose words will bring forth ministry in me and through me. And I am meeting colleagues who I will laugh with and cry with throughout these challenging years, and I still do. And on that shore, feeling so full of possibility, I am looking at nothing but the ground. I am scanning like a prospector looking for gold, except my goal is to find round and flat stones with quartz veins that bisect them very neatly, each stone two-sided. Now, I'm not sure why. What did this mean for me back then? For a stone, maybe to symbolize the truth of my life, that there is a part of me I knew, and then a part of me that was still mystery. And now fast forward one more time. It is the first several months of 2013, and I am living into my sabbatical, which you so generously gave to me. And one of the main things I am doing is coping with my divorce and its aftermath. And I find myself a little like Forrest Gump, the part of that amazing movie where Forrest just does not know how to process the loss of his beloved Jenny. And so what he does is just run. He runs all across America. He just runs, and he runs, and he runs, and he runs. Like he's trying to figure it out with his feet, what to do, where to go next. As for me, I walk miles and miles, praying with my feet, praying to be made whole, praying to be made better. And this is when I discover the walking trails that are abundantly available in Atlanta. One being Island Ford Park off of the Chattahoochee River there in Roswell. I'd walk the trail, and there's a certain stretch where the pathway stones are micaceous. Mica occurs in flat flakes that shine golden in the sun, so the path would wink at me as I would walk. And I couldn't help picking up a stone or two from that path to give me cheer. And I'm only now realizing, once again, that in all the times of collecting agates or Amazonite crystals or flat round stones bisected by quartz or stones shiny with mica flakes, that I have always imagined myself as having invented rock collecting for myself. Like I did it all myself. Whereas in truth, he was there before me. My dad. The beautiful green waterstone, smooth, there on his office desk, like a seed planted. It wasn't just barbershop chorus singing or Ukrainian dancing when he was with us. He has always been here. He is in me and lives through me in ways both known and unknown. This came to me in yet another way around the time of my daughter's wedding this past May. My older brother Rob came to celebrate it with me that beautiful day, and it had been a couple years since I'd seen him, so it felt novel to be with him, and I found myself kind of looking at him sideways, as he did his Rob things. He said his Rob sayings. He's an introvert, but there was a moment in a line at a Starbucks when he started a conversation with two cute college girls right in front of us, and he was charming and chatty. Where did that come from? And more to the point, that's something I might have done. See, I'd always seen him as Ernie to my Bert, right? As Felix to my Oscar. I hope I got those right. He's the anal one, in other words, right? But maybe I need to rethink some things. And once when we were headed out of my parking garage where I live, and as usual, that gate that lets you out, it takes forever. And there was a voice in my head that just kind of popped on as I was there at that damn gate once again. And the voice said, It's almost sullen in its slowness, like it does not like you. Yeah. And almost at the same time, my brother out loud said this. He says, don't think it has a grudge against you, or maybe it does. I mean, we just share the same sense of humor. That was amazing. And how might that be so? To be so alike even when we are such separate people and our lives have gone in different ways. And again, it is Dad, his energy and enthusiasm, his sense of humor, what Rob and I reflect in and through our own lives. Maybe that is the part of being a father that is the most lonely and austere, that you are present, but no one sees it. Well, I see you today, Dad. God, you screwed up in so many ways, but I am past being judge and jury of you. And same goes for you, my mother. Today, I am just thankful. You were there before me, and you are with me now. Now, with us here, all our fathers are. Amen.